Millionaire left his ex. For a model, she crashed his wedding with their twins. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a captivating tale that delves into the high-stakes world of wealth, romance, and family secrets. Our story centers on a suave millionaire who left his loyal ex-partner for a glamorous model, only to find himself confronted with unexpected consequences on what should have been the happiest day of his life. This story is brimming with tension, heartbreak, and a reckoning that no one saw coming. Prepare for shocking revelations, hidden truths, and a dose of instant karma that will leave your heart pounding. Now, sit back and immerse yourself in this dramatic journey of betrayal and redemption. Before we dive in, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. If you're excited about this story, let us know. If you enjoyed the video, press 1. If not, press O. Your feedback really inspires me to gather more uplifting and meaningful stories. James Blackwood was not born into fortune. Raised by a hard-working single mother in a cramped apartment on the outskirts of Boston, he quickly learned the value of persistence. Even as a child, he dreamed of achieving more than the modest life fate seemed to offer. After scoring scholarships, he spent countless late nights in library study rooms, perfecting business plans and forging networks. By the time he was 30, he had created a successful tech startup that eventually sold for millions. The money transformed his life drastically, but it also magnified every ambition, longing, and temptation he carried inside. During his rocky climb towards success, James met Rachel Coleman in graduate school. She was studying finance with an unwavering dedication that mirrored his own determination. They formed a bond grounded in mutual respect, love for late-night brainstorming sessions, and a shared dream of establishing their marks on the world. Rachel was the one who encouraged James to take risks, who soothed his anxieties during pitch meetings, and who believed in his vision even when investors laughed him out of boardrooms. She never asked for anything more than his genuine devotion, trusting that their future held promise beyond measure. However, as James's fortunes expanded, so did his circle of admirers. Invitations to opulent galas at the Four Seasons Hotel in New York became routine. Champagne toasts, exclusive VIP lounges, and celebrity acquaintances became daily indulgences. Rachel found herself increasingly sidelined, overshadowed by women flaunting expensive designer gowns. While she remained unwavering in her support, James often felt she was too simple for the sophisticated life he had worked so hard to secure. He began to yearn for someone who not only embraced the luxuries of his new realm, but also complemented his growing public image with dazzling flair. Enter Vanessa, a stunning runway model who made waves in elite fashion circles. The moment James first encountered her at a charity event, his fascination was immediate. Vanessa radiated poise, elegance, and a certain detachment from reality that enticed his growing ego. She was constantly trailed by cameras, brand managers, and paparazzi eager for a shot of the next haute couture sensation. Their whirlwind romance began with secret dinners at five-star restaurants and ended with flashy public outings that overshadowed the subtle loyalty Rachel once offered. James felt intoxicated by Vanessa's world, drawn in by the electric rush of the spotlight. One fateful night, James summoned the courage, or rather, the audacity to end things with Rachel. A single tear escaped her eyes as he explained that their relationship had run its course. She had suspected his lingering glances at glamorous women, but she never imagined her years of unwavering support would be discarded like yesterday's news. Rachel walked out of the penthouse, her heart shattered, her dreams of a shared future left behind on the marble floors. James felt a flicker of guilt, but he quickly dismissed it, comforted by Vanessa's smooth promises of a life devoted to luxury and excitement. A few weeks later, Rachel began to feel uncharacteristically nauseous. She assumed it was stress-induced heartbreak, but an early morning test confirmed the life-altering truth: she was pregnant. A subsequent doctor's visit revealed twins. Though overwhelmed, she was also filled with a fierce sense of maternal love. She grappled with whether to inform James, fearing it would shatter her pride even further. Yet she eventually recognized the twins deserved the chance to know their father. Swallowing her resentment, she contacted James, prepared to share the monumental news, even if it meant confronting his new life and glamorous love interest. When Rachel finally managed to reach James by phone, his response was chilling in its indifference. He claimed he was busy orchestrating an international merger, dashing off to Europe, and simply couldn't concern himself with personal matters at that moment. He listened in silence as Rachel haltingly explained the pregnancy. Then he snorted, sounding more inconvenienced than shocked. "I wish you well, Rachel," he said flatly, "but don't think this changes anything. I've moved on." And with that, he hung up. Rachel stared at the phone, tears of frustration flooding her cheeks, painfully aware that she stood alone. In the months that followed, Rachel struggled to piece her life back together. She found a modest one-bedroom apartment near her new job at a local accounting firm. Though the pay was far below what she had once earned, she refused to rely on James's wealth. The pregnancy proved complicated at times, requiring regular checkups and bed rest during her third trimester. James never called, never sent messages, and seemed oblivious to the silent miracle growing within Rachel's womb. Meanwhile, tabloids reported glamorous vacations with Vanessa yacht parties in the Mediterranean, lavish shopping sprees in Paris, and an unceasing swirl of high-profile events. Late one winter night, Rachel woke to sharp labor pains. She called a taxi, arriving at the hospital alone, her breath ragged from fear and pain. As the hours dragged on, she remained resolved but terrified, praying for her baby's safe arrival. No supportive hand squeezed hers through contractions, no father's anxious pacing in the waiting room. After an agonizing labor, she delivered twin boys, Aaron and Bryce. Their cries filled the sterile room with hope. Exhausted, Rachel tenderly held each precious life in her arms, vowing that despite her struggles, she would give them all the love in the world. Once she was strong enough, Rachel tried again to reach James, even sending pictures of the newborn twins to his assistant. Each time, the response was the same. He was consumed with important business dealings and traveling the globe with Vanessa. If Rachel received any reply at all, it came in the form of a dismissive text from his legal team offering a perfunctory financial settlement in exchange for silence. Sickened by the coldness, she ripped the check into pieces. James's abandonment was complete, and Rachel realized that if she wanted her children to thrive, she had to move on without him. Rachel's days became a blur of diaper changes, feedings, and late-night lullabies. Balancing her job with the demands of twin infants tested her every limit. She discovered a new level of resilience, anchored by her unwavering love for Aaron and Bryce. Over time, she climbed the ranks at the accounting firm, impressing her bosses with her diligence and expertise. News of James still haunted her, whether on social media or in headlines describing his flourishing empire. Vanessa remained on his arm at every public function, her diamond-studded gowns signaling triumph for their relationship. Yet behind Rachel's steady progress, heartbreak lingered. Years passed, and James's net worth skyrocketed. He founded new ventures, invested in real estate, and purchased an impressive Bentley Continental GT. The paparazzi loved him. He was the embodiment of rags to riches, unstoppable and charismatic. With a stunning model as his fiancée, rumors of their upcoming wedding buzzed through high society circles, Invitations made of polished gold leaf were rumored to be mailed to global influencers, promising an extravagant affair. Vanessa reveled in the attention, posing for glossy covers in wedding-themed photo shoots. James, for his part, saw their union as the crowning jewel of his meteoric ascent to wealth. They chose an opulent seaside resort for their nuptials, set on a breathtaking cliff that overlooked turquoise waves. Designers were commissioned to create a custom glass walkway for Vanessa's triumphant procession, while florists orchestrated a floral canopy rumored to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Chefs from around the world gathered to plan a 10-course feast, complete with caviar, Wagyu beef, and the finest champagne. The event was to be streamed live to an exclusive guest list, each attendee receiving a customized digital invitation. James spared no expense, proud to show the world what unmatched success truly looked like. Sitting in her modest living room, Rachel scrolled through a social media post unveiling the lavish wedding details. Her heart clenched. She noted the date just 2 weeks away. Aaron and Bryce, now 4, played cheerfully with blocks on the carpet. Over the years, she had wrestled with bitterness and heartbreak. She found ways to cope, devoting herself to the twins, forging new friendships, and sometimes even daring to imagine a fresh start in romance. But seeing James's wedding flaunted so extravagantly stung her all over again. Another wave of sorrow broke over her, blending with an anger that refused to subside. As the wedding day approached, the media frenzy intensified. Rachel tried to tune it out, but coverage was everywhere. Even her boss at the accounting firm followed the updates, gossiping about the rumored celebrity performances set for the reception. Unbeknownst to Rachel, an old mutual friend discovered she had never received so much as a courtesy note from James. Outraged at James's indifference to Rachel and the twins, the friend forwarded Rachel an electronic copy of the wedding details. Rachel stared at the invitation, overcome by a sudden impulse she could hardly understand. She felt compelled to do anything. At first, the idea seemed outlandish. Why would she stoop to disrupting James's big day? But the more she thought about it, the more she realized how his reckless dismissal of their children was unacceptable. This wedding was being showcased as a testament to James's success, yet it completely ignored the 2 lives he'd so callously cast aside. An image of her son's bright smiles flashed through her mind. She wanted them to see that they were not mistakes to be hidden, but blessings to be celebrated. And if James wouldn't acknowledge them, perhaps it was time to force the truth. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear, the sky a dazzling blue. Luxury cars streamed through the gates of the exclusive seaside resort, depositing guests dressed in designer finery onto a red carpet flanked by marble statues. Vanessa's entourage bustled through the grand foyer, making last-minute adjustments to her intricate gown. High-profile socialites mingled with business titans, toasting flutes of champagne and snapping selfies with gold-embossed backdrops. A string quartet played softly, setting an elegant tone that hinted at the fortune poured into every detail. James, clad in a bespoke tuxedo, surveyed it all with smug satisfaction. Unnoticed among the gleaming vehicles, a battered SUV pulled up near the back entrance. Rachel emerged, adjusting the little bow ties on Aaron and Bryce. Their wide eyes sparkled with curiosity at the glamorous setting. Rachel's hands trembled. She felt a potent mixture of anxiety and determination. She had borrowed the SUV from a neighbor and dressed herself and the boys in their best outfits, though they paled in comparison to the designer ensembles worn by the guests. Taking a deep breath, she steadied her resolve. Today was not about revenge. It was about revelation and the truth behind James's perfect facade. Discreetly, Rachel led the twins through an employee corridor, weaving between caterers and staff too preoccupied to question her presence. A part of her feared security would spot and eject them before she could say a word. Nevertheless, she pressed on. Her heart pounded wildly with each step. Finally, they emerged near the grand ballroom where the ceremony was set to commence. The breathtaking decor was mesmerizing, gigantic crystal chandeliers and an aisle lined with blooming orchids. Guests were already seated, flipping through programs detailing each meticulously planned segment of the service. Rachel could hardly believe she was really there. As music began to play, an expectant hush fell over the crowd. Vanessa appeared at the far end of the glass walkway, radiant as a sun goddess in shimmering white. Cameras flashed, capturing every delicate step. James stood at the altar, a glowing grin plastered to his face. For a brief moment, Rachel faltered, struck by the picture-perfect scene. But her eyes fell on Aaron and Bryce, whose innocent faces revealed no notion of the significance unfolding. Summoning a surge of courage, Rachel stepped forward. Murmurs rippled through the congregation as heads turned, curious and then shocked by her sudden appearance. At first, James didn't recognize who was intruding. Then his eyes focused, and his expression changed from confusion to alarm. Vanessa froze mid-step, disbelief etched on her face. The hush became suffocating, as though the entire hall had ceased to breathe. Trembling, Rachel lifted her chin. "James," she said in a voice that carried surprisingly far, "these are your sons. The ones you refuse to acknowledge, the ones you've chosen to ignore. I won't let you continue living a lie." She ushered Aaron and Bryce forward, the boys clutching her dress. All eyes pivoted to James, waiting for his response. For an excruciating moment, James remained speechless. Cameras continued to click, capturing every angle of the unfolding drama. Vanessa's flawless posture began to wilt, her fury evident in the tightness of her jaw. James finally managed to stammer, "Rachel, this is not the time or place." The officiant looked helplessly at the wedding planner, who shrugged in panic. A ripple of uneasy whispers spread through the guests. Sensing the mounting tension, James flicked a hand as if shooing away an inconvenient pest. "We'll talk later," he hissed. "Not now." But the damage was done, and the crowd hungered for more. Refusing to be dismissed, Rachel's voice trembled with indignation. "I've been trying to reach you for years. You left me, pregnant with twins, to fend for myself." She gestured at the two boys clutching her skirt. "You never called, never visited. And now you're standing here, pretending to be the perfect fiancé, hiding the fact that you have children you've never even met." Audible gasps echoed in the hall. Some guests shifted in their chairs, unsettled by the raw confrontation. Others craned their necks, enthralled by the scandal. Vanessa's face darkened, her moment of bridal glory tarnished by revelation. Vanessa tossed her bouquet aside, her focus locked on James. "Is this true?" she demanded, eyes blazing. "You told me you never wanted children, never had them." James sputtered an incoherent denial, beads of sweat forming at his temple. High-profile guests began to whisper that perhaps James's integrity was not what they believed. One business magnate, rumored to be finalizing a large joint venture with James, scowled. The entire future of James's brand was at stake. Moral controversies could uproot sponsor endorsements, tank stock values, and demolish lucrative contracts. In that instant, James realized his immaculate world was perilously close to collapse. In a flurry of taffeta and fury, Vanessa abandoned the aisle, her hair shimmering under the chandeliers as she confronted James face to face. "You lied to me," she cried. "You never mentioned any children. You made me believe that starting a family was out of the question because your work was so important." James tried to grip her arm in a pleading gesture, but she jerked away. The wedding planner urgently signaled the string quartet to resume playing, hoping music would mask the ugly scene. but no melody could muffle the truth. Guests shot disapproving glances, some already reaching for their phones to spread the scandal. Desperate to regain control, James turned to Rachel, stepping away from the altar. "We can discuss this privately," he muttered through gritted teeth. "Making a public spectacle helps no one." Yet as he grabbed for Rachel's arm, the twins shrank back, startled by the agitation in his voice. Rachel pulled away, tears stinging her eyes. "No, James, I've spent years trying to have a private conversation with you, and you ignored me. Now the world can see the truth. You have children who deserve better than your excuses." The murmurs grew louder, and the magnitude of James's betrayal was laid bare. Vanessa's composure shattered like glass. She tore off her veil and threw it to the floor. "I will not be humiliated," she seethed. "You made me look like a fool. This wedding is over." With a dramatic pivot, she stormed down the aisle, leaving the congregation in stunned silence. One by one, guests began to gather their belongings. Some huddled in small groups, gossiping about the demise of the ceremony. Others hurried away, unwilling to be associated with the fiasco. Among them was the business magnate who had been on the brink of signing a life-changing contract with James. The future, once golden, now seemed precarious indeed. For a moment, James stood frozen, watching his once perfect wedding crumble. Then he sprinted after Vanessa, calling her name as reporters and videographers trailed in a frenzied pursuit. Rachel shielded the twins, hugging them close amidst the chaos of camera flashes and frantic voices. She felt a swirl of conflicting emotions, part vindication, part sorrow for the man she had once loved. If James had only shown a shred of responsibility, perhaps this public downfall could have been avoided. Instead, his betrayal was exposed in the harshest spotlight imaginable. No one could claim ignorance now. The truth had shattered his carefully curated image. As Rachel turned to guide the twins away, a hand reached for her shoulder. She pivoted and found herself face to face with Caroline Mansfield, a renowned philanthropist and major investor in several of James's ventures. Caroline's eyes brimmed with empathy. "I had no idea, my dear," she said softly. "I've partnered with James for years, but this changes everything. Please, let me help you and your boys. You deserve far better than what he's offered you." Stunned, Rachel nodded mutely, unsure whether to accept. Yet in Caroline's gaze, she saw genuine compassion, a first step toward a different, kinder path. In the aftermath, James's empire suffered blow after blow. The headlines about his forsaken children tarnished his public image, causing sponsors and associates to distance themselves. The massive wedding expenses became a humiliating footnote to his once glorious success story. Meanwhile, Caroline introduced Rachel to philanthropic circles, helping her secure a better job and a supportive community. Under Caroline's mentorship, Rachel discovered new confidence and eventually started her own consultancy specializing in financial planning for single mothers. Aaron and Bryce thrived, surrounded by love, with doors opening for them that Rachel had once feared forever closed. James watched from a distance, haunted by regret. In time, James made feeble attempts to contact Rachel, seeking to mend things with his sons. Yet he found it difficult to bridge the chasm he had dug with his own arrogance. One day, as he stood outside a local community center where the twins played soccer, he glimpsed them laughing wholeheartedly with Rachel. A pang of loss gripped him. He realized that in pursuing a glamorous facade, he had forsaken the profound joy of genuine family bonds. Though Rachel accepted financial support for the twins' futures, she kept James at arm's length, unwilling to expose her children to more heartbreak. In the end, James learned in the most public and painful manner that no amount of wealth or status could shield a person from the consequences of their own choices. Thank you for tuning in to this dramatic tale of betrayal, hidden children, and the power of truth. We witnessed how a single reckless decision could unravel an empire, proving that wealth and prestige are never substitutes for genuine loyalty and compassion. If you found yourself captivated by the twists and turns, please hit that like button and share this story with friends who appreciate a riveting saga. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more enthralling narratives that shine a light on the complexities of the human heart. Your engagement fuels our creativity, and we can't wait to bring you the next unforgettable chapter.